Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 81 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles. I'm here with Joey, Nick, and Jackson. Guys, how are you doing today?
Doing good, doing great.
Good. What's up, everybody? What's up, fellas?
Jackson?
I'm glad. Well, for anyone who's wondering, we just used Chat GPT to find out that I think Antoine Jameson was like the fifth ranked power forward of all time. So, for anyone using Chat GPT, definitely check your sources because there might be some.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's probably the biggest lesson. Or James Worthy being a top Cleveland Cavalier of all time. Definitely check your sources on that one. But good, you guys are all doing well. We got preseason basketball back. We have basketball back the last couple of days. There have been a few games on. No, they really don't count for much. But I've been so starved for basketball that I've been definitely watching some games a little bit. And definitely some players that I want to get to going forward that look impressive so far. But before we get to that, let's do some news, couple news headlines. One of them that just got announced right before we started recording. Orlando Magic center Wendell Carter Jr. agreed to a 3-year, $59 million extension. Their starting center, wrapping him up for 3 more years. Joey, I mean, we just got this news, a Shams bomb. We'll get to Shams later, but
yeah,
Wendell Carter extension with the Magic. What are your thoughts?
solid. Locking up their dudes, locking up their core. I don't. Their backups are pretty solid. So like we've talked about it, how well rounded this team it kind of is right now, and they just need their players to perform in the year. So solid move. Nothing too exciting, but I like it.
Jackson, you think 3 years, 59 million? You think that's a good price for Wendell Carter?
Yeah, I mean they have a lot of not a lot of extra money, but they have a decent amount of extra money to spend. So I think locking up your starting center, especially, I mean he's played fairly well for them. So I think if they deem him as a good fit for their team, I don't see why you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I like this move, especially for the reason that it locks him up just in case you want to use him as a trade asset, a trade piece. Because we talked in the last episode, like even like swapping back Vooch and Wendell. We were talking about Chicago possibly looking at Zach LaVine in Orlando, like maybe Franz and you make Wendell a part of that deal or something like that. But even if you do go swing for something, now you have a solid center wrapped up on a pretty good contract for 2 years, 59 mil that will be a tradable asset for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just an all-around solid deal for a Magic team that jumped up last season and looks to jump up even more. Jackson thinks they're going to do it. Definitely the potential to with all that defense, and he's definitely a big part of it. But moving on to our next bit of news, this is one that we got on Monday morning. That's Shams Charania, NBA insider for The Athletic, is leaving The Athletic to now become the next Woj. He is now ESPN senior NBA insider. A move that isn't really all that surprising to me. Ending up going to ESPN, but just good for Shams because he's come up from not much to now be the senior insider for the NBA. It's definitely impressive.
Yeah, I don't know much about his career, his background, or anything like that, but I do know his name, obviously, and I'm going to be hearing it a lot more. That's for sure. No disrespect to him, obviously, but I just don't, and I don't know.
Yeah,
Follow
so
close
familiar
enough.
with his name.
I'll give a background on him a little bit. So he has basically worked for Yahoo and The Athletic. He actually started his career as a sports writer for a local place in Chicago at age 17 and
Well,
got noticed by Woj, who was with Yahoo Sports at the time. And that's how Shams got us into Yahoo Sports when Woj was there, ironically, then going to The Athletic and doing his thing there for so long and now going to ESPN. Only 30 years old. This is a young guy that has made this a lifestyle. He's another guy that's kind of transformed this job.
It's really cool. I've been playing a lot of the new 2K25, and he's actually in it. They use him as the 2K insider, so it's kind of cool that how popular he's kind of gotten, kind of out of nowhere, and it's perfect timing for when Moj goes. That you just have
yeah,
Sean step right up. He's already a solid fit. Everyone kind of knows the name around the basketball world a little bit. it was always Woj getting there first, but Shams was always right there as well with the name. So it's pretty confident move. I knew there was words of Adam Schefter possibly doing the NFL and the NBA, but I think that would have been a terrible idea personally.
There was
Yeah.
also word of the MLB insider Jeff Passan,
Jeff
right?
Passan.
Yeah.
No,
Going to the NBA
It's
as well.
too
There was,
much.
yeah, that
we
would have
talked
been.
about it. We talked about it. That's a lifestyle job, and Shams has obviously, been in that lifestyle for a couple of years already. It really sounds like a passing of the torch, sort of, when you put it that way, like master sensei type of deal. But that's really cool. And yeah, like I said, that would just be way too much, like you guys are saying, for either Passan or Schefter. It's a lifestyle that you got to do 20 hours a day, probably.
Oh yeah.
I saw something on Twitter regarding this move for Shams. Like, it was the ESPN version of the Dallas Mavericks going from 20 years of Dirk right to Luka next. As Dirk goes out, Luka coming in. That's kind of what this feels like. You're going from a legend to another legend in his own right. So congratulations to Shams Charania for getting this big gig. Definitely excited to see a bunch of Sham bombs in the future, I guess, if we're gonna have to come up with some sort of name for them.
It'll be something.
It'll be something fun for sure. But yes, so the preseason back underway, the 2024 NBA preseason. Now, how much of the preseason have you guys watched? It is only preseason, so I'm assuming probably not much at all.
Not much.
Yeah, I've seen highlights.
Yeah, a couple highlights. I've been watching things the last couple days, and there have been a couple players that have stood out to me. So before we move on to our next thing, a new segment, the Run in the Paint film sesh, to
Love
go
it.
over a couple of these players. So first, I'm going to start with a couple rookies here. Let's start with Charlotte Hornets rookie Tajon Salon. Now, this is a
Yes.
guy that really impressed me with his energy and athleticism. But in the summer league, he really didn't show much ability to shoot the ball. I don't believe he made a three-pointer during the summer league. And in this first game against the New York Knicks, he looked very confident, very aggressive, looking to shoot the ball. So yeah, there's a nice new graphic there. But Tajon Salon driving to the basket, hooking it in. You see 11 points, took 5 of his 8 shots from three-point range, and you see here deep, just catch and fire. He was looking nice out there for sure. And this is a good looking drive. Wasn't able to finish it, but you can tell that the skills are there. Like even there, he's just confident firing away from 3. This is a guy that if he can get that 3-point shot to fall off screens like that, it's definitely going to help the Hornets out a lot because we already know that he's a very energetic, passionate player.
He looks reminds me a little bit of Karl Anthony Towns a little bit, though, just the way he's shooting and how confident he is, at least in that setting. Like you said, in the summer league, it wasn't like that. But at least right now in this preseason game, reminds me a lot of Cat, where he's confident shooting, even a couple feet behind the line. Like he ain't scared and extremely athletic, taking it in, driving it in, trying to finish it through contact. Man, this guy has got some problem. This Charlotte team, man, I like it. They got a lot of young guys.
Yeah, I really like Salon. I'm glad that we started here with him. Miles, shout out to you for doing that because you definitely know that I had him a little bit higher than he was drafted. He was, the 6th pick in this year's draft?
Yeah, right around there. I think we kind of expected him to go to the Spurs with the 4th pick, I believe.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be top 3 or 4 because he's literally a 6'10" wing who, coming into the draft, he was a defensive, minded, scouted first. I mean, I think, in my opinion, he's a great defensive player. And anything like he does on the other end, which is obviously being able to stretch the floor like Cat, I think he's a little bit more comparison to MPJ, just his catch and shoot ability and spot up like that. But yeah, I mean, both those guys are really solid wings. He could be a better defender than both those guys.
Yeah, I compared him a bit coming out, seeing the way he played in summer league to an Aaron Gordon.
Yeah,
because I mean, he just has that NBA body. He's a very good athlete. Again, I keep saying he shows so much energy because it's true. He shows a lot of passion on the floor, and I love watching different guys like that.
Well, his sister plays for their national team, and his parents both played as well.
Oh wow.
Wow. Yeah. So definitely a basketball family there for sure.
Mhm.
Excited to see what he can do in the NBA.
Just
And
ask
then,
Chat GPT.
oh yeah, let's just ask. Yeah, absolutely. And the next one, this is, I guess, my final one, but it's two players kind of combined here. Couple of Detroit Pistons players. First, rookie Ron Holland, another super athlete who, when I was watching him play on Sunday against the Milwaukee Bucks, he was just all over the court. He was one of those players that just stood out because he just had a knack for the ball, was able to make the right plays on both ends of the floor, really. And then another guy, a bit of a more experienced player, but still young in his own right, is Jalen Duren, because he looks different in this new JB Bickerstaff system. Because what we've heard from JB Bickerstaff in training camp, media day, is that on this Pistons team, he wants whoever to get the rebound to push the ball up the floor and make plays, including Jalen Duren. When I first heard this, I was like, okay, we'll see
No,
how
that's
that
good
goes.
news.
But he was making some impressive plays off the rebound and in the half court. So we'll take a look at Ron Holland first on the offensive end. Something he was able to do in the summer league. He had a nice knack for making tough runners and floaters off one leg. There's one right there. You look at this defense, feisty defense on DeLon Wright, goes coast to coast, lays it up and in. And this one as well, 4-1. There's Jalen Duren. We'll see his passing a bit later, finding Ron Holland there. Just impressive stuff offensively and defensively as well from Ron Holland. Now, Jalen Duren, nice, just simple backdoor play. 4 assists in 23 minutes. Look at this play off the turnover. Look at that pass on the fast
Wow.
break. Did not know that he had that in his game. So shout out to Jalen Duren.
There's another one.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
there's the one for Ron Holland again. Jalen Duren is a guy that I could see if the Pistons are going to be playing that, much of a free-flowing offense. Duren is going to be a low-key fantasy player because of all the double-doubles he can get. And if he gets his assists up to 3 or 4 per game, that's going to be huge. So, seeing those two players play along with the shooters that they added as well, they were moving the ball a lot. I believe they had 31 assists in that game, which was very impressive. If they can do that, and the Pistons are going to be a very watchable team this season. I'm actually kind of excited to see them
I was
play.
to say, very unlike the Pistons of late that we have witnessed, like watchable basketball that's like okay. I knew Bickerstaff was going to be a good fit for them. Like I'm very happy for them. It's even though I don't like Detroit and they're one of the Cavs' rivals. Like I hate seeing a team that's just that bad in the NBA. I want everything to be at least competitive.
Can JB turn Jalen Duren into a young Bam?
I think he's made comparisons to that, and honestly, I could see it. I
So,
could see it because something about Jalen Duren, the
He's great.
rebounding numbers have been historic his first 2 seasons. I mean, he's 2 years in, he's already averaging a double-double for his career.
Yeah, he's 2 years in. When he was drafted, he was the youngest player taken in his draft class. And the other guy, Ron Holland, obviously was a top 3 pick, I believe. Yeah, he's solid.
He's 5.
Freak athlete. He was 5.
Yeah, top 5
Yeah,
pick, but he was a
5.
top prospect for a lot of the year.
Yeah.
He was projected number 1 for a lot of the year.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, he was.
And I could see why. Ron Holland, I'm very excited to see how his career plays out because honestly, I could see a world where if he turns all that athleticism, he's already making some right plays. And of course, I should preface, I mean, it is preseason. You can only take so much with the preseason,
Mhm.
but for me personally, this is a lot. This is my first time really getting to see a lot of these players play in actual legit, NBA competition. I mean, I guess for all of us. But Ron Holland, if he can add, consistent shooting maybe to that athleticism, I could see a world where he's the best player from this draft, a bunch of years down the line.
We'll see. The last thing I want to say about Jalen was the way JB had Jarrett playing out of the short roll. I could definitely see that being a different factor for Duren this year as well.
Yeah, I'm
Short
excited to
roll.
watch the Pistons play. I mean, there's definitely opportunities there for guys like Duren. Jaden Ivey also looked great. He's another player I could have included in this. He looked a lot more comfortable out there. It
I was
just
just
looked
gonna
like
ask.
JB Bickerstaff was playing Well, it looked like the players were able to play a lot more freely under JB Bickerstaff. So obviously good for the Pistons. Excited to see what how it looks for them this season. Definitely don't think they're going to do much. We all had them in the bottom 3 of the standings.
Yeah.
But if they can be a watchable basketball team, that is definitely a step up from the previous few seasons. So shout out to the Pistons for sure. Now it's time to continue our 30 key question series. We've got 11 through 15 here. Some and all these questions really looking forward to the season. Now that we're done with the off season, now we're all looking ahead to next season. So let's get started with question number 11. Again, comment with your opinions on all these down below if you want. Question number 11. Which team is the toughest to predict? Nick, let's start with you. Who is the toughest team to predict in the
Okay, so
NBA?
naturally, this is going to go back to my Western Conference standing predictions, and one of the ones that I got a little bit more heat for. It was kind of like a main theme throughout the entire episode, really, and that was the Warriors. I think the Warriors are one of the toughest teams to predict this year because they are so dependent on Steph Curry, and you don't know if Draymond's going to be on the court, and you don't know how well he's going to play when he's on the court. They have a lot of, I mean, they got Pods and Trace in that starting lineup right now. They got a couple of new faces in Melton, Hield, Anderson. So, yeah, I mean, last year we heard Steve Kerr say a lot, I'm not really sure about the lineup. We don't know what's going to happen this year. He's saying that there's a lot of openings in the lineup still that he doesn't know who's going to start. So if the head coach doesn't know who's going to start, then, I think they're going to be hard to predict how their year goes.
Yeah, I think during media day, someone asked him about the starting lineup, and he was like, well, I think we'll start Steph. And then the rest is kind of up for grabs, which I am super happy that he came in with that approach because I was worried a lot with, I have the Warriors pretty low in the standings, as does Jackson. And I was a little worried that they would be relying on their veterans to start like a Wiggins or Draymond Green just to raise the value in particular of Wiggins. But Steve Kerr saying that everything's up for grabs makes me feel, decently about the Warriors. The fact that they know that there's a lot of, positions that are up for grabs.
Yeah. I think that's a really good choice, Nick. I was between them and the team I chose.
Well, who'd you pick, Jackson?
Ultimately, I picked the Kings just because I think I don't know. I like their big 3 a lot, but I could see them finishing like anywhere like from 3 all the way to like lower play-in.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know. I mean, on paper, this team looks good. You have a great 6 man off the bench if he comes off the bench in Malik Monk, and even if he starts, he's a great player. But the rest of this bench doesn't really it's not a crazy bench. And I mean, they're starters. You got your big 3. I think Keegan Murray could take a step forward this year too. But I don't know. The West is stacked, and I don't know. They don't have that one. Like Fox is great. Don't get me wrong. Sabonis is great, but they don't have that one guy who could go out and give you an All NBA first team season. In my opinion, I think Sabonis potentially could, maybe, but I think every other team ahead of them in the West has that one guy who's a bona fide this dude could go mess around and win a VP.
Yeah.
You know what
For
I mean?
me, with the Kings, honestly, the 2 guys I'm looking at are Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray. They have a solid core in Fox, DeMar, and Sabonis. I mean, that's a top 3 that's pretty heavy. And then if those 2 are playing well and able to be coming off the bench, I think Keon Ellis needs to be in the game in the fourth quarter because he's a great defender and they need help on that end.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have to find a way to fit him in there with those other 3 guys. And if Keegan Murray can be the last guy you finish games with, or you go real small with Malik Monk, I don't know, but yeah, I think that's a good pick, Jackson.
Yeah, Keon Ellis is a guy who, the Kings, they did face a lot of injuries second half of the year with Monk and Herter, and Keon Ellis started a lot, and he was defending very well, which, is his calling card. That's why he got a spot with the Kings. but he was able to shoot the ball pretty well, and that's why he was able to start out there. So I think that he's definitely a key for the Kings going forward. He could be a candidate to even start when healthy.
Yeah, I'm very high on the Kings. The West is loaded. I'm with you, Godwin. This is a very tough. Even though I'm high on them, I would not be surprised if they're like battling in the play-in because the West is just that stacked.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the tougher teams to predict. I've also got a Western Conference team, a team that I think that I know for us, I think all of us had them outside of the picture coming in, and that's the LA Clippers. I think that they're kind of a tough team to predict because
Yeah.
they still have James Harden, they still have Kawhi Leonard, and when you have those two guys, you could still finish, in a decent place in the standings. And they're just a weird team to kind of fit in here. But I think that with James Harden, Ty Lue made it clear that this is James Harden's team. He made the comments last year. James Harden did, I am the system. He now has the opportunity to do that again, and he could put up decent numbers again. Like, I would not be surprised if we got a 17, 10, and 6 season, because that's just what we got from him even like a season ago. Last year, fitting into a new team with a bunch of different stars that were in and out of the lineup, definitely tough for him. But I think that James Harden and Kawhi Leonard is still an underrated duo, even though they're two of the great players, of our generation. They're still a duo that could definitely be dangerous in the regular season, and they do have solid surrounding pieces as well. Like, if they could get a Kevin Porter Jr. to go crazy scoring wise, Norman Powell off the bench, Zubats is probably going to have a good year. This team has the makeup to have a pretty solid year. It's just a question
Mhm.
of, can their main guys stay healthy?
Right.
I saw someone like interviewing Kawhi, and he said something about his teammates. Like he doesn't like wasn't it like something he doesn't know any of his
No,
teammates or
so
something? Like
you're talking about. So the reporter asked him, out of your new teammates, who has stood out the most? And he went through and named every single one of them, and he was like, none of them have really stood out to me, which is not the best sign, but that is a very Kawhi answer. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. The Clippers they definitely have the talent to make it interesting this season, but I just don't believe in their health, man. Like even getting Derrick Jones Jr. is like it's really, especially in this free agency market, not the worst you could do after losing out on Paul George and having him leave. But it's not enough to make up for him, obviously.
yeah,
Yeah.
Kawhi even said I think that same interview asked him another question, and he said something about like he's not here to play all 82 games or something. He just wants to win. I don't know, something like that.
Dog.
Yeah. They
Interesting.
provided. I saw a clip of it. Like I don't know, Kawhi's weird.
Kawhi's
Kawhi is weird. I'm with you
Yeah.
on that
So
one.
even with that, it makes it even more confusing to even figure out this Clippers team. But Joey, how about you? What's the toughest team to predict for you?
All
Do
right.
you have a West team, or are you going to go to the East?
I was gonna say everyone else is choosing West. I think I'm gonna go the Eastern Conference, and I'm gonna choose our hometown Cavs. Like we're pretty high on them. We're also a little biased because we're from the Cavs. We got knocked out in the second round to the eventual champs. We were very injured, but we decide to run the whole thing back with the entire same roster, with the same entire roster. But we choose a different coach. Does the coach really change that much team to get us even better? Or is it going to be maybe a rough year one and it might take some time, like a year or two for us to get going under the new coach and we go backwards this year? Because that could also happen because with the same roster, it's like you kind of know what you're getting a little bit, at least on the base side. You kind of know what everyone's potential is. So you're like, can they go past the second round? It's like maybe their offense, like I believe their offense can be unlocked with Kenny Atkinson. So I'm on the optimistic side saying like, hey, we could maybe battle for maybe a conference like the Eastern Conference Championship. But then the other half of me is like, are these guys like on this team, this roster buildup, really conference championship material though, compared to some of the other teams in the East. If they're all healthy, like the Bucks, the Knicks, the Celtics, the Sixers, if they're healthy, it's
Magic.
very
Yeah.
different. Magic, even like we went to 7 with them, and they got better. They literally got better. They added what they needed to get better. We just stood the same and got a different coach.
Yeah, I mean, you made the point, and I think the argument's very simple. It's like you're banking on the new head coach to come in, and that's what you're banking on to,
Yeah.
keep them to have them win a playoff series and hopefully 2. And if not, then everyone else in the East got better, and you might slide.
That's just for me, that's a lot to put on someone who's not even on the court. Because
Yeah,
as much as we love putting all the
but
blame
it could
on
work.
coaches,
It could
they're not.
work.
It very
So
could.
there's like
I
that
have a belief.
variability.
Yeah, I've said it multiple times that I think that the Cavs in the Eastern Conference have the most variability as far as where they could finish, because I think they could finish near the top of the East. They could finish in the play-in because, like you said, they are going back with the same roster, and a lot of other teams did get better. I think that the Cavs did get better with getting a different head coach because this team is still going to be an elite defense just with the personnel they have inside. And I think that the offense should improve greatly. I'm hearing great things, from training camp about, how it could look. For them, they're another team that it depends on health because their season was kind of derailed by health last year. But even then, they still won 48 games, nearly a 50-win season. So to me, I don't think there's many. I don't think that there's a world where they get much worse than that. I think they're a 50-win team, but I could totally understand why people would have them lower because they are a very top-heavy team. That is something you could say about the Cavs.
I guess we'll see tomorrow. Right, guys?
We will.
Hopefully.
Or tonight as we're releasing the Cavs first
tonight,
preseason
yeah.
game, where hopefully we are going to be at
Yeah.
the game.
Do you think Donovan Mitchell is going to average north of 30 points per game this year?
Oof. North
He
of
could.
30? No.
No,
Or 30 or like
because Kenny
30 or
Atkinson is a guy he even talked about during training camp, and he's done it with his Brooklyn Nets teams. He's going to play a lot of players. He's going to come in and run a 10, maybe 11-man rotation. He's going to run a lot of players during the regular season so guys can gain confidence.
Does that mean I have to watch the G-Wagon play more? Oh.
Yep.
Dude, hey, the playoffs were garbage. He's not a bad basketball player, dude. And look, with the Cavs, I mentioned it during our preview as well. They have the versatility, even though their bench doesn't look amazing. Because you have so much talent in the starting lineup that can play with a bunch of different players, you can have Darius Garland and Jared Allen be the head leaders of the second unit. And then your second unit's automatically going to be better than a lot of other teams because you're getting led by all-star type players. And then Karis LeVert's always solid. Isaac Okoro just re-signed. He's improved each season. Sam Merrill's a beast. I like what I've seen from Jalen Tyson a lot. Craig Porter, Ty Jerome, I think will be nice pieces for this team. Definitely a lot of things that could happen. What?
You guys got really good guard depth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's definitely what I'm excited about with this team. But moving on, we've got back-to-back award questions, starting with question number 12. Most improved player for this upcoming season. Jackson, you go first. You've kind of already mentioned it the previous episodes. Who's your most improved player?
I do. I have a bunch of different guys that I was considering for this, and I landed on Jalen Johnson because I think his role.
That's who I picked.
Holy hell!
What?
I mean, his role is just going to be expanded so much, and I think he showed a lot last year. He had some really good games where he had 30 plus, and like he's also really good on the glass. If he gets some offensive rebounds, puts them back, he could score a bunch of points. And I really liked how he looked last year, and I think he's going to improve on that, being probably the second or third option on this team. So I think Bogdanovich might be the second. Unsure. We'll see.
Who else were you considering?
Other guys I was considering. I was thinking
because I don't have Jalen Johnson. I kind of have two guys for this. I have one player that's kind of like what you guys are talking about, And that's Jonathan Kuminga for Golden State. I think that
Ooh.
he's a player that could potentially get it because if he can, like we said, Steph Curry is the clear number one. We don't really know who the number two guy is. So his numbers could definitely jump up, a decent bit. But my actual pick for this award, going based off how the award has kind of gone the last few years, it's a youngish player going from pretty solid to a star, or at least an all-star from what we've seen the last couple seasons. And it was kind of hard to figure that out. There were a couple guys in mind. I thought of a Jalen Suggs, who we talked about before, because I think if he could
Oh yeah,
score more,
that's another guy I was thinking of.
because I was thinking if he could score more and the Magic win more, he's definitely a guy.
That was my second because I have him averaging 20, north of 20 as well this year.
Yeah, if he averages 20, he's definitely going to make the All-Star game, I would think. But my actual pick is going to be Evan Mobley, a player who is actually second in the odds for most improved player. Just because I think that he has all the keys to really do it. His numbers were decent last year, 16, 9, and 3, something like that last year. And with Kenny Atkinson, we were just talking about before, if those numbers can improve and the Cavs record is solid, I think that's definitely a position that he could be in, especially because we know that when healthy, he's in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's the youngest player to ever make first team all defense in like 20 something years. He's definitely a guy that will have he's definitely got all the keys to fulfill that goal of making an all-star game. And that's why he's second in the odds to do it.
As a Cavs fan, at least most of us, we've felt the frustration the last couple years. We're like, man, this Evan Mobley guy, his potential is so high. It's like his defense is already like elite, but his offense needs to get better for him to be just absolutely dominant and one of the best players at his position, which he definitely has the potential to do. Hopefully, with Kenny Atkinson, his offense can be unlocked because if he does, like, it's definitely good. It might be Evan Mobley.
That's why I'm so high on it this year. That's why I've said before that this is my final year believing in something like that. Because last couple of years, I could understand why there's not much improvement. I mean, JB Bickerstaff, we've talked a lot. He's a good developmental coach, but as far as offensive schemes, X's and O's, not really the best guy. Now getting an offensive coach in there who is going to feature Evan Mobley. They're going to play through Evan Mobley a lot this year. I think that he definitely has a good shot to win it. I will say though, if the player who's number one in the odds for most improved player is Victor Wembanyama, if he wins most improved player, they need to get rid of the award.
Is he really number one in the odds?
I believe so. I've looked it up as we lose Nick, and Nick is now back. Yes,
That's
you guys,
so
you could fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure Wemby is number one, and then Mobley's number two.
What was Wemby's numbers last year?
It was like 21, 10, 3, 1, and 3.5 blocks.
What's it going to go
can't see
to 25, 26, like 12 and like 5 blocks?
No,
like, yeah, that's a huge improvement, but like, dog, no.
Exactly. It's a second year player should improve from his first year. That doesn't make you the most
The way
improved
that
player.
I feel
That
like
means
this
Luka
award
should have won it.
has been
Facts.
handed out the last couple of years is like who is going to be the guy who becomes the second best player on their team that either wasn't expected or like wasn't that before.
Yeah. That's probably why I have Jalen Johnson, because I'm very high on
Yeah.
the Hawks. Remember from
Mobley,
my Eastern Conference
Kuminga,
standings.
all of them
I think it's going to be one of two Jalen's. I think it's going to be either Suggs or Jalen Johnson. Just because I think either of those guys could be a number two on their team very
What
easily.
about Jalen Green?
If Jalen
Nope.
Suggs,
Nope.
there'll be pigs flying all over the place.
There will be pigs flying all over the place. But yeah, so the leading field for most improved player, it is Wemby, then it's Mobley, then it is Kuminga and Brandon Pajemski, his Warriors teammate there. Jalen Johnson's actually pretty low
first
on
few
this
joints.
list. And I can understand why, because
Take
he made an incredible jump last year. I'm not completely sure how much better he could get, but he is their second best player, so he could definitely show a lot more there. So it
Sorry,
definitely
who'd
could
you
happen.
say? I didn't hear the name you said.
That Jalen Johnson being the second option now, his numbers could definitely improve a lot there as well. But moving on to our next award question, a question I actually forgot about because this is an award that was just recently instated. But question number 13, the Clutch Player of the Year award. This is going to be the third year of its existence. Previous two winners were Steph Curry last year and De'Aaron Fox back in 2023. I'll get us started with this one, a player that I think could have definitely won this award in a previous year had they actually had this award, and it is Damian Lillard from the Bucks. I think that he definitely has a shot to win this award because, I mean, it's Dame time. I'm pretty high on the Bucks this season.
It's always Dame time.
Yeah, I haven't officially stated on here on the podcast because I have switched. I have switched my Eastern Conference standings a little bit because of the trade. So I had the Bucks number 2 originally. I have swapped the Bucks and the Knicks. So I now have the Knicks 2, Cavs 3, Bucks number 4. But because I still think that the Bucks, though, they're going to have a lot of close games, and Dame is going to be the difference. It's going to be that Dame Giannis pick and roll, and I think that he's going to hit a lot of tough shots. But this award, I mean, it is kind of tough to predict this award. But Jackson, who do you have as your Clutch Player of the Year?
I'm sticking with the same thing I had for the last award. I'm sticking with a Jalen name. I'm gonna go Jalen Brunson. I think last year, someone who watched a lot of Knicks games, he was involved a lot in the clutch in the last 5 minutes. They went to him a ton, and I think like it was a lot like after Julius Randle got injured. Before Julius got injured, they kind of went to Julius a lot in those later game situations. Now that Julius is out the door, I don't know if Cat's going to take a lot of the production that like the same amount of production that Julius did.
Well, if he does, it'll probably be off of Jalen's anyways. So that counts for Clutch Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean their end game strategy, it's going to be either a Brunson ISO or a Brunson Cat pick and roll or pick and pop. That's going to be their end of game offensive scheme, and that sounds pretty good to me for the end of a game.
I also picked Jalen Brunson because of that reason.
And DiVincenzo either this year. DiVincenzo was a guy who took a lot of those later game shots, later game big 3-pointers.
Yeah.
And I think you're not going to give it to OG. You're not going to give it to Mikal. It's going to be Cat or Jalen Brunson. I think they'd rather have Jalen Brunson shooting a clutch 3.
Or heck, maybe Josh Hart. He has an knack for hitting clutch 3s. Right?
He does for some reason.
So annoying.
We love Josh Hart. Yes.
It's like the last 5 minutes anyways, right? Like
that's true. I don't know exactly how they determine this award. I mean, the player that just hits the most game winners, really, and most crazy shots in the clutch, and that's why Steph got it last year.
Well, if it was determined by fourth quarter scoring, LeBron would win it every year because he leads the league in fourth quarter scoring. Still,
just like
my pick though was not LeBron. Someone a bit younger, coming off an injury, playing in the other conference.
Bronny.
Well, as you say that, though, shout out to Bronny and LeBron for getting on the court together, first time in history. I know it's only preseason. But still, seriously, it is a good moment for them in preseason. So, congratulations to those two.
You said LeBron, but younger.
Yeah, LeBron, but younger. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot at the end of the game. For a team that is looking to make a move up in the East that a lot of you guys are high on, that I'm not as high on, that's LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets. I think Melo is a sleeper for this award because he's going to have the ball at the end of the game, and I think the Hornets are going to be in a lot of close ones there at the end, and he could be a dark horse for this one this year, I think.
As long as he's healthy, yes. He for sure can do that. As long as he's healthy, that is a good dark horse candidate for that award. I ain't going to lie.
15 games to hit 15 straight game winners to win the award.
Hell yeah. That'd be lit.
Hey, that's what we were saying in the pre-pod lobby. That's what my guess was. Max Strus, he just hits 10 half-court game winners like he did in the Dallas Mavericks game last year.
Right.
And he just wins the Clutch Player of the Year award.
Other guys, Joey, I'm surprised you didn't go Trae Young for this.
No,
That's what I was going with.
I'm picking Jalen Brunson. To me,
but I'm like, who's the new Trae? Obviously, it's LaMelo.
Oh, fair.
What?
The new Trae Young is LaMelo.
Who's the real Melo?
But
Carmelo
it's
Anthony
not
is top.
disrespect. That's
Stop.
Sorry,
What
not
did I
on this
see?
pod. Not on
What
this
did I
pod.
LaMelo
see?
Blazer. I don't need to hear it.
Dude, I saw something the other
Just for
day.
that, I'm
It's like
taking Luka
Carmelo
1.
Anthony has now had his city, his jersey number, and something else taken away from him. Will he be the most forgotten player? Oh, and his nickname. And his
Oh.
nickname. Because number 15 in Denver is Jokic, obviously.
Jokic?
It's now Jalen Brunson's city. Now the Knicks are having way much more success with him at the helm than Carmelo Anthony. And now his
Nah,
nickname
Melo's fine.
apparently. No,
He's all right.
Melo's Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, it's always Anthony.
That's not even a
Okay,
question.
Zion's gonna come back and take it all back. Don't worry. Don't worry. He's gonna go to Syracuse. He's gonna go Denver, then to New York, then to every other team in the league.
Houston Rockets for 10 games or whatever it was.
We don't need him. We have too many guards.
We have too many guards. All right. Well, question number 14. Talk about a shot in the dark type question that we're going for with this one. Which surprise player will score 50 points in a game this season? Now, this one is very tough. I guess it depends on what we think is a surprise type player. Nick, let's start with you. Who is your surprise 50-point game this season?
Like you said, I guess the definition of surprise is kind of vague here. You guys can tell me whether or not you think it's be a surprise. I think it would be a surprise. Cade Cunningham, I think, is going to drop 50 in a game this year. Maybe, I guess it wouldn't be too much of a surprise, but I think I don't think he's done it yet. He maybe has.
No, I don't think. No, he definitely hasn't yet. I don't think.
He said, I think his high is 42. I think.
I'll check it, but you keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, 42.
Right.
That takes at least a couple more shots to go in if you're going to make it to 50. I think he'll have the opportunity to do that this year, though.
43, Jackson. You were one off. One off there, Jackson. But Cade Cunningham, that's a nice pick there. Joey, how about you?
I was just looking up my person's career high number because I was also curious, but my player is Franz Wagner. I was looking up his career high, and it's 38 points. So that would definitely be a big jump for a career high number.
With extra threes, you can't hit threes.
That's my thing. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, if this dude dropped, that's why I'm saying he's my most surprised, because if he drops 50 points, you know he's hitting at least 5 threes in this game.
At least he'd be going crazy from 3. Yeah.
That's got to be a surprise. Plus, when you think of 50-point scores, I think, and based on how you guys were talking about Jalen Suggs, you probably guys have Paolo and Jalen Suggs more likely to score 50 than Franz Wagner.
Not Suggs. I don't.
No, not Suggs. Okay, definitely Paolo though. Definitely Paolo over.
Paolo's definitely got a shot, for sure. Suggs. I mean, we can pump the brakes on Suggs a little bit. He's still a defensive-minded player who had a good offensive year last year. We'll see what happens this year. I'm not fully on the train yet.
I think he'll average I think he'll average 20, but it's going to be like a consistent, like 20, not like a big game type of guy and then a bad game. I think he's going to be consistent.
See, that's why I think Franz will drop like a 50 bomb the one game, and then like the next 2 games he'll drop like 15 or 12.
Well, it reminded me of there was like a month in Paolo's rookie year where he shot like 5% from 3, like January of 2023.
Yikes.
But
Jackson, that wasn't all of last year.
What, Franz Wagner for all last year? Jackson, your surprise 50-point game.
So I was between 2 people again for this one, and I think it's funny that Nick said Cade Cunningham, because I actually was between Jaden Ivey. Because that's a crazy, that was my crazy pick, but I could see Jaden Ivey dropping like 50 in a game.
Dude, that's my player.
Is it really?
Actually,
I have 2 guys. That Jaden Ivey is like my. I have another player who's even more bold than Jaden Ivey. But Jaden Ivey, I think, definitely could.
I mean, Jaden Ivey was a beast at Purdue. We haven't really seen him take it over. I mean, I know he's a bucket. I mean, but I haven't seen him take over a game like he did at Purdue in the NBA.
Well, because he's also played off guard, especially last year, because Cade has been there. But here, I'll set the scene for you. Jaden Ivey. This is going to be late in the season. Pistons are going to be out of it once again. random game in, let's say, middle of March. He's going to be the only guard playing. Cade's going to be not playing in a game. Other shooters are going to be out, and he's going to score 50-something points on the road, and it's going to come in a loss.
Hmm.
On the road?
That's what's going to happen. It's not going to happen at home. Pistons fans aren't that lucky. But Jackson, okay, so who's the player you did decide to go for?
I think Brandon Miller is going to score 50.
Ooh.
I would love that one.
I think after last year, like especially later in the season, they're going to rely a lot more on him, especially because of LaMelo's injury concerns. I could see him doing this while LaMelo's playing, but probably when LaMelo isn't. But if he could do it while LaMelo is playing, because they could have him become the number one option scoring wise, and have LaMelo kind of go back to go to like a playmaker first type like LeBron, but like also look to get buckets. You know what I mean? Like try to average like 8 assists.
He is a
maybe
great
22
passer.
points.
He is a very good passer. So
yeah, so like something like that. And I think Brandon Miller could also take the reins as the number one option on this team. And I think he could be another guy that could explode for 50 this year.
I could see
Because he's just so versatile. It's like he's like Paul George.
Yeah.
He's so much like Paul George.
I could see him dropping 50 when LaMelo gets hurt and Miles Bridges gets suspended again. Mark Williams possibly gets hurt again. And he's literally their only option.
Okay, so you guys want to hear my super bold point?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's hear your crazy take.
A little bit.
So my basis for this. So last season we got a 50-point game from Malachi Flynn, which goes in the record books as some of the most surprising 50-point games that we've ever seen. That's probably the most surprising we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Here's some from the 2010s to now of crazy games. Some players you would never expect to get 50.
Whoa!
Some of these are just insane. I mean, Corey Brewer at a 50-point game, Terrence Ross, Mo Williams in his 30s. You know, some of them are just unbelievable. So mine,
Derrick Rose hit 50 points in Minnesota, way past his best days.
Surprising. Derrick Rose is the GOAT.
Yeah. So my prediction, my super bold prediction, is going to be Deuce McBride from the Knicks. And
I like that.
Because as we saw last season, Tom Thibodeau will play him the whole game for 48 minutes. So if players get injured and they need, someone to play a lot of minutes, Deuce McBride is going to play 48 minutes. Actually, no, it'll go to overtime. So he'll play 50. So he'll play 53 minutes, and he's going to score 50 on like 35 shots.
He's going to be dead. What are you talking about?
That's the super duper bold prediction. Completely out of nowhere.
Dude, what?
I like it.
Dude's gonna be getting interviewed after the game, hooked up to like 3 oxygen tanks.
Dude, he did it last year. No, he didn't score 50, but he played in full games, last year. That's my basis for that one.
That's a
surprise pick is Joel Embiid.
Right, Joel Embiid.
He's gonna have 6 of them.
I was gonna say he's gonna have multiple this year. You watch. That's
not a question that you had lined up, but quick. Do you think anybody's gonna score 70 plus this year?
Luka Doncic.
That's a good question. 70 or even 60 would be.
I'm saying 70 plus because who hit 70 plus last year?
Luka and Embiid.
Luka and Embiid did it back to back, or like within like a week or so.
Yeah, they did it in like a month. It was the same thing 2023 with Mitchell and Lillard. They did it within like a month stretch as well.
They did it back to back. They did it back to back nights.
Yeah.
I was in the stadium for Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I have a box score from the game that he signed. That was a crazy night.
Bro, he didn't miss. Every shot went in. Every single shot.
Dude, I remember I was at the rec center playing basketball because when I played basketball, like just with random people, I had my AirPod in one ear because me and Miles shared League Pass last year. So I remember I just turned on that game because I was like, oh, we'll watch Trae Young versus Luca. And I'm just listening and I'm playing with a bunch of randos. And I'm like, guys, Luca's got 70 right now. And everyone like stopped. We checked the phones and everyone was like, oh, no way, dude. I remember I checked fantasy. He had like 130. I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I
70
still beat
point game.
I still beat Nick that week, by the way.
Had a rough year last year.
We're thinking about live streaming our fantasy draft this year. If you
Yeah,
guys
that'll be fun.
for
You
that
want to
one.
see a fight?
But 70-point game, Luka is probably the answer to this question, just because he's going to have the ball a lot more. But I don't know. He's got Clay, Kyrie. This is just a tough one because like even Embiid now has like guys. Oh man, I would love to see it though. 70-point games. We're now at the point where we're seeing 1 or 2 of them a year. Because I remember when Mitchell scored his 70, that was the first one since Booker 6 years prior. Now we've gotten 4 of them in the last 2 years. So the scoring.
That's what I was curious. I'm like, it's getting a little more common. We're gonna get at least 2 of them.
Booker doing it.
What? Oh, Devin Booker, dude, Booker could do it. I think Booker could do it.
Booker could do it again.
And Edwards could definitely do it.
You know what? Edwards, I think, is the pick because
he's gonna get so many shots.
Yes. So
Julius is gonna get injured, or he's gonna whine, or he's gonna complain. Ant's gonna punch him in the face.
Oh my god.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the final question of today. Question number 15.
Oh.
Who will be the first coach fired this season? Now, this is a question that I think is very difficult for this season because, well, there were 7 coaching changes during the offseason. So 7 teams now have a new head coach. And a lot of teams, their head coach, they either got them, the year prior, or they're established and they've been there for forever and there's no way they're getting fired. So this leaves a very small list of names that I'm still not really even confident about. But Joey, let's start with you. I know you made a bold prediction of like a long while ago about a coach getting fired.
Do you remember who the bold prediction was? Tyronn Lue. And guess what? My pick for first coach to be fired is Tyronn Lue. And here's the bold prediction. He will be fired before the All-Star break.
Oh, you even gone longer. You said before Christmas.
Bro, I said before Christmas, now before New Year's. Now I'm like, maybe Steve Ballmer's a nice guy. Maybe he won't like ruin his holidays. He'll wait until like the second week of January to do it.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
Merry Christmas, you're fired too. No, I think the Clippers are going to get off to a rough start this year. And unfortunately, that falls on Ty Lue and the Clippers, especially with like their new stadium. A lot of eyes are going to be on them. A lot of fans are going to be going, and they're going to be demanding better teams to watch at the new stadium. And if Steve Ballmer wants to kick off the new stadium tour off the right way and you have a losing team, you have to do something. That's a beautiful stadium. That is a beautiful stadium.
The Intuit Dome. There was some video footage of like their practice facility located in this building. There's a basketball court outside for fans to play on outside the building. It's ridiculous.
That's sick.
It's unbelievable.
What do you think about that?
Your LA coach right now, let's be honest.
I think he's got a better job security than JJ Redick, who was just hired.
Yeah, I don't. There's not a chance JJ Redick gets fired. This first year. Ty Lue.
If they get off to a bad start, do you see kind of where my logic is coming from a little bit, though?
I don't think they would put that on the coaching, though, because Ty Lue, we know him to be a great head coach, and their roster isn't the best. I mean, they have Harden, they have Kawhi. Like I said, they're my toughest team to predict because they could go one of 2 ways. But regardless, I don't think it'd be the coaching that would be the problem. And I also think the Clippers, like, what other coaches would be out there for them to want to hire in their position? But I think we're also at a point where it's just difficult to really tell. Yeah, Monty Williams.
David
Blatt. Oh man.
John Beeline.
John Beal. Okay, that shows where we're at with the coaches right now in the league. All right, I guess I'll go next. I'll go with the obvious answer that probably the rest of us have with this, and it is Billy Donovan from
Yep, that's
Chicago.
mine.
Oh, that's a good one.
Just because I feel like, I mean, they're just in the middle. He's a coach that is okay, not great, not awful. You know, definitely a way better coach, college coach than his time in the NBA with the Thunder and now the Bulls. I just Billy Donovan to me, he's kind of just like the coach that's just left to get
Yeah.
fired. Because when you look at the rest of the league, like I said, it's either guys that are in it for their first 2 years with a team, or they're Popovich or Spoelstra that have been there for so long, and they're not going to get fired. They're franchise legends.
Yeah, that's fair. This is a really tough one. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't a coach fired in this regular season. You might see some in the off season, but I don't think at least during the season. It's a very tough one to predict.
I was thinking another low key one could be Chauncey Billups from the Blazers, even though they are rebuilding. He has been there for a while. And like, not to his fault, but not a lot has happened there. And Portland, at his time being there, I think their best season was like a 33-win season. So they really have not been the best in the 3 seasons that he's been there. I could see a world where maybe he gets fired, but that's kind of where we're at. I mean, a good former NBA point guard coaching a rebuilding team, having like the second, third most odds to get fired is kind of where we're at. You know, it's good to see the coaches have job security, because that's a thing that over the past several seasons, that's something like if you're a coach, you can expect to not make it through that contract or not be there after 1 or 2 seasons.
Guys, it's gonna be Joe Mazzulla.
Get out of here.
They're gonna go into the All-Star break at sub 500. They're gonna fire him, hire Steve Nash.
They're gonna do what happens in NBA 2K25, because the Celtics are awful in that game. But
yeah,
I mean, Nick, do you guys
like,
have any dark horse guys to potentially get fired?
Doc Rivers.
I had Billy Donovan as well because he was the easy choice. I talked about the other guy I had written down on here before, and it's Michael Malone, just because of their, some of the things I've heard about the front office and him not getting along, and just his attitude and his personality. Someone who kind of difficult to get along with. Not that he's not great at his job, not that his players don't buy into everything that he's given them, but it just wouldn't surprise me that he would have a short leash this year if things don't go right.
Fair.
Yeah.
I think I said Doc Rivers as a dark horse, because I think Thanasis is going to be practicing one day. He's going to bomb a layup. He's going to miss it very badly.
Oh my goodness.
Doc's going to be like, "You're trash," and then Giannis is not going to like that, and he's going to have him traded. And that's the end of Doc Rivers' career.
Dang.
Because he dissed a bad player. That's
all because of Thanasis.
All because he airballs an open layup in garbage time.
Poor Thanasis. I'm pretty sure he had a major injury actually at the end of last season. I don't even know if he'll play this year.
Wow.
How? He doesn't play. How would he have gotten injured?
He's the rubber man.
Absolutely. Well, let us know in the comments section your thoughts on all of these questions. Your bold 50-point game this season, most improved clutch player of the year. Just let us know your thoughts. We're getting so much closer to the regular season. We're now halfway through our 30 key questions. 3 more episodes to go, 15 more questions, and we've saved the hard-hitting ones for last. So make sure you stay tuned for those ones. We'll go over things like MVP, our finals predictions, most overrated player. That could get us in some trouble right there. But so stay tuned. Excited to watch some preseason basketball as we get going. Regular season starts 2 weeks from today. Definitely excited. We got a lot in store for you guys. You guys have anything else before we get out of here?
Shout out to Anton Jamison for hitting 51 points twice in his career. If we're talking about 50-point scores, shout out to that Cavs legend. Right, Nick?
No, I can't. Couldn't have said it any better.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.